Good evening. This is Felisha and Manpreet Kaur on behalf of Brentwood Votes, and we are here today to interview Mr. Edward Schuck, who served as a Deputy Probation Officer in Brentwood and currently a candidate for the Brentwood City Mayor. Welcome, Mr. Schuck. How are you doing today, and is there anything you'd like to say first to our audience?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Really, the message that I'd like to give to the audience is just that I am running for mayor because I didn't see someone that really matched up with my values running. I felt that some of the candidates had been on the city council for a very long time and had not kept a lot of their campaign promises, had not done the things they said they would do. So I'd like to provide an alternative and hopefully win over people's votes.
In 3 to 4 sentences, could you please share with us why you chose to run for this office?
Sure. So following up on what I had just said, I really felt that there wasn't a candidate that had been that had the experience that I cared about that hadn't already been on the city council for quite some time. I am a conservative Republican candidate. There was not a conservative Republican running. And I felt that I really wanted to provide that option for the people of Brentwood so that they had someone that was a fresh face, had a fresh perspective, and could hopefully take care of some of the issues with police and fire department that haven't gotten the funding they needed, and address some of the developer issues with our overbuilding of housing.
So on your campaign website, you mentioned homelessness as an issue in Brentwood. Could you elaborate on that and how you would be able to solve that?
Absolutely. So homelessness isn't an issue that you solve per se. It's really an issue that's ongoing. So it's going to be something you constantly have to be on top of. That being said, as a probation officer for Contra Costa County, I have worked with a variety of homeless families, homeless youth, homeless people over my career. And really it takes a collaboration of all of the different services we have. So I would want to get the homeless population in Brentwood connected with shelters, with job placement services, with drug rehabilitation services, whatever we can at the city and county level to really get them as many services to working their way out of whatever problems got them into homelessness in the first place. I would also want to see Brentwood work on some city ordinances to make sure that we are deterring future homelessness and really trying to work towards making sure that everyone in the city has a path to housing one way or another.
With Brentwood having experienced such high population booms and continue growing, how would you address rising costs of living and supporting livable wages here?
Sure. So really the way that you're going to address both of those issues is by attracting high-paying jobs to Brentwood. That's the really critical piece. Right now, the vast majority of people that live in Brentwood have to commute sometimes 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half in order to get to work. That's a very long commute, and it takes a lot of dollars away from our community and puts them into another community where people are paying taxes because they're buying things in that community. They're not keeping their money here. So in order to sort of address those issues, what I want to do is I want to put a pause on residential growth so that we're not building new houses immediately until we fix some of our funding problems with the fire department, the police department, traffic, etc. And I really want to work on enticing and giving opportunity to high-paying jobs to come into Brentwood. Part of my plan would be to really advertise heavily the Innovation Center, which is being built, try to attract some of the tech jobs from the Silicon Valley. A lot of those companies are moving away from the big office buildings in the South Bay, and it's an ideal time to have them come and look at our less expensive real estate and great opportunity that we have with the fiber optic technology here in Brentwood to relocate their businesses, and that should raise the wage in the city of Brentwood, as well as attract some additional tax resources for the city so that we can do things like additional programs for housing and, like I said, low-income people.
So with all the privileges and responsibilities held in a mayor's seat, how would you go about working with the Brentwood community to maintain and bolster transparency between the Brentwood citizens and yourself?
Sure. So this is an issue that I really think that I have presented as part of my campaign platform. I am all about transparency. I am not a politician. I have never held a political office before. I'm a local law enforcement guy. I've been on the streets working with people day in and day out, working with families, working to get people back from the prison system back into our community, as well as working with youth and kids to try and get them out of trouble, back into school, off of drugs, things like that. I call them as I see them. I'm a straight shooter. I'm never going to lie to you or tell you something that isn't just my opinion at the time. So I would do my absolute best to continue that into office. I believe my integrity is unquestioned, and I think I've earned the right to say that I'm an honest guy and that I would continue to be an honest guy, trying to talk to the citizens of Brentwood about what it is they want and need from their city council and from the mayor, in order to make sure that Brentwood grows and remains a great place to live for my kids and my grandchildren someday, I hope.
Could you please elaborate on your police funding agenda and why you believe Brentwood even needs an increase in its policing?
Absolutely. So statistics are very clear. The more money you spend on a police department, the better training they get, the better equipment they get, the better the services are to the community. Just like any other service that you would pay for in a community, when you pay top dollar for your police, you get higher quality policing services. So one of the major things that's being talked about right now is adding a 5th beat in Brentwood. That basically means another officer would be on duty most of the time. It reduces response times to calls, and it also would provide additional support so that when there is a major issue, a serious car accident, something of that nature, it's not just one police officer that may be available to respond. You would have multiple police officers hopefully able to respond to those issues. I think that it is critical that we get this 5th beat, and I think it's also important that we remember that we are well under the original goal for the city when it was originally planned, as far as the ratio of police to residents. We're under that ratio right now. We need to increase the amount of police officers that we have so that we can keep our response times low and make sure that our crime rates stay low, and we have a well-trained police force that can deal with the diverse population that we have here.
Thank you. And for our last question, so you mentioned that economic development is a significant position in your campaign, especially with reopening Brentwood and local businesses. So my question is, how do you plan on turning Brentwood into a self-sustaining city, and in doing so, that including jobs and supporting economic growth?
Sure. So somewhat of a similar question to a couple of questions ago, but again, the real goal is to focus on not just getting, any sort of jobs. Really, the middle to high wage jobs is what I really want to attract to Brentwood. So I would be reaching out to Silicon Valley companies. I would be reaching out to industrial companies. I would be reaching out to companies that are going to provide a serious living wage to the people here in Brentwood, and hopefully be able to get some of them to come on board so that we have jobs here locally rather than commuting out of the city. In order to do that and maintain that growth, we really need to incentivize the businesses to come here. So giving them, great deals as far as working with the city to get their business on its feet and up and running. We also need to look at keeping our regulations low, removing some of the regulatory hurdles to starting a business and maintaining a business here to keep it inexpensive and really be a highly competitive place for businesses to come, so that they look at Brentwood and they say, hey, it's less expensive for me to do business there than it is in some of the surrounding cities. Absolutely, I would look at opening up a center or a new business there in Brentwood. Basically, we outcompete the rest of the area, and we get great businesses by doing so.
Okay, well, that concludes this interview. Thank you, Mr. Schuck, for participating in this event and for sharing your views. We wish you the best of luck in the election, and thank you to everyone who watched this wonderful interview today, and we hope you have the great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.